And for more on all the action leading up to UFC 276, we welcome the hosts of the award-winning Morning Combat podcast, Luke Thomas. We just heard the dulcet tones of one Luke Thomas. And Brian Campbell. Guys, let's start with the press conference. We had some trash talk going on between the men in the main event. Fired up Max Holloway and an absolute madman in Sean Strickland. BC, you even got in on the mix and asked some questions there. What was your biggest takeaway from Thursday's press conference?
Well, is that good or bad for my career that I swam in these waters? You won't find, high journalistic standards. But what I took from this is a hype machine event, as Luke likes to say. It's a commercial for the pay-per-view. And those who took advantage of it certainly were Sean Strickland in both good and seemingly bad ways. But how about Max Holloway, typically reserved for this potentially historic trilogy in the co-main event? Talking trash. I did not see that coming. A lot of energy at the very least. I think a guy took his shirt off behind me when I was answering a question. Somehow that's par for the course in this case.
Yeah, what I would say is the way to think about these things is less so the word press conference and more the word pep rally, although it's a pep rally where you're also inviting the other team, and so people boo the fighters they don't like and they cheer the fighters that they do, and that's kind of a thing. One other note I would make, BC's right, Max Holloway on fire tonight. But I would also say Jared Cannonier looked like a fish out of water. He's not really been in a place like this. Izzy, the champion, he's been here before. Volkanovski and Max, those guys did. Jared Cannonier was answering questions like it was actually a press conference. And it's not really that. And so there were times where the fans were getting booed. Adesanya was like, wrap it up, B. So a bit of a note there. This is not a experience he is used to.
Yeah, it sounds like a little bit of performance art going on there. Let's break down some of the action itself. Middleweight champion Israel Adesanya puts his undefeated middleweight record on the line against Jared Cannonier, who's 5-1 since dropping down to middleweight in 2018. Luke, you already mentioned how Cannonier looked a little bit like a fish out of water in the press conference. What are your thoughts on the matchup?
I don't know how much that will mean come fight night. Jared Cannonier's been in big fights against big opponents, ranked opponents, tough fights. He fought Robert Whittaker, by the way, including by the third round, somewhat tooth and nail, and Whittaker's the former champion. He's as good as anyone in that middleweight division on the right night. So I don't think that will really play a role all that much, although I suppose we'll see. But to me, this really comes down to, and I mean this generally, there's no real way striking for Jared Cannonier to win. Yes, he's got big power, that's real, but Izzy has fought lots of guys with big power. He's got a real long reach, and he's got some of the best decision-making in the game. My belief, what I really think this will come down to is either A, whether Jared Cannonier can get the takedown, which is possible but probably unlikely, but B, what can he do about the leg kicks of someone like Adesanya? And that sounds like nothing, but you have to think of it as Mayweather's jab. Everything else comes behind that. That sets up everything. That wins him rounds. It is his real key to his offense, and if he can't stop them, there's just no way he can win.
Yeah, Luke, and to your point, trying to go strike for strike with Adesanya, it's not a good game for anybody. When they call him in this UFC hype package as possibly the greatest striker the sport has ever seen, I mean, there's footage to back that up. But I do not believe Jared Cannonier, for all the danger he brings, is going to be as easy to decode and disarm as maybe Adesanya has been able to do against a Marvin Vettori, Paulo Costa. You talked about reach. The reach advantage in this case is only 2 inches. We've seen much dramatic, longer reach advantages for Adesanya. And Cannonier has shown in that one loss and his middleweight run against Robert Whittaker that he fought through a broken face and a broken arm in round 1, rallied to hurt and nearly finished the former champion in Robert Whittaker. He is dialed in at 38. Age is not a factor. I'm not necessarily here picking the upset. I'm telling you this. If you think that this is going to be an easy pick apart, play with your food night for Israel Adesanya, who has been predicting that he will get a knockout, this is not a guy to be toyed with. There's a reason why we love names like a Matt Serra, who famously upset GSP. This happens in this sport. Jared Cannonier is in this fight in play, regardless of the odds. It's going to be an interesting fight.
Oh, you're doing your job, BC. You're raising interest. You did exactly that. Let's go to the co-main event. We have a trilogy bout here for the featherweight title when Alex Voklanovski faces Max Holloway for the third time. Volkanovski won the first 2 fights. The second, though, a very close split decision. Luke, you spoke in depth with Max Holloway earlier this week. What's his mindset going on to the fight?
This is about as focused as I think I've ever seen him. I truly mean that. It's not like he's ever lackadaisical or that there are vast disparities between another camp and this one, but I do mean to say he understands the historical significance. In fact, when I asked him about this fight and what was on the line besides the belt, besides bragging rights, besides a lot of things, his first answer before I even could finish my sentence was legacy, legacy. He had 10 rounds against this guy, and he believes that on both occasions he won, certainly in the second one, but he also knows it doesn't matter if this one is close. If you lose again, it is over. Your featherweight campaign will basically be what he accomplished prior to this contest. He can get other wins, of course, but he probably will never get another title, certainly as long title shot, as long as Volkanovski is in that division. This is all roads lead for the legacy where he wants it to be through this fight. And so this is two guys, two absolute master craftsmen, chess masters, whatever metaphor you want to use about somebody knowing what they're doing. Really, Max Holloway has, I think, got a good game plan. His team always does. But you asked about his mindset. His mindset, dialed in.
Yeah, Luke, those are some strong words. BC, you with him there? Is this do or die for Holloway as far as the featherweight title picture is
I think
concerned?
so. I think so, and I think when Holloway says, look, you're not going to need the judges, this won't go past 3 rounds, I'm starting to believe maybe he means it, and here's what I mean by that. He believes he won the second fight, clearly. He believes he won the first fight, too, but it's those 3 judges that through 10 rounds, only 5 of them have given the nod to Max Holloway. That's not enough to win 1 fight or even 2 fights in this case. So if you're Holloway, you played 10 rounds of chess with the chess master. You came close. You dropped him twice in the first 2 rounds of the rematch. But why is Volkanovski great and unbeaten in the octagon? Because nobody makes mid-fight adjustments quite like he does. Holloway, let's remember one thing. He's on a 2-fight winning streak since the first 2 Volkanovski fights. He took a lot of damage in beating Yair Rodriguez in a close thriller. But one thing he told Luke in their interview was maybe the judges prefer my style more when I'm in an action fight.
Right.
If that ends up being the case, you don't want to play chess with Volkanovski. If Holloway comes out and leaves no questions unanswered and just lets it fly, it's going to come down to who wants it more, who's got more dog in him. We know from the Ortega fight that Volkanovski's got dog in him, but we could see something very special Saturday night here.
All right, Brian Campbell and Luke Thomas. Guys, thanks a lot getting us ready for the main card of UFC 276. And for more of a breakdown on UFC 276 and all things combat sports, check out the Morning Combat podcast, where you'll get exclusive interviews and analysis leading up to that main card on Saturday in Vegas. Download and subscribe the Morning Combat podcast today.
Do you want a sports network that delivers everything that matters about the game? The highlights, the picks, the instant analysis, no yelling, no fake debates, no politics. Hit the subscribe button and never miss a moment.